We're 9:32. Shall we?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. My name is Oscar Garcia, and I am the director of the office at the program UNDP. A very warm welcome. It's really great to see participants from so many countries in this webinar. Tracking the results and impact of public action on people's well-being is an important responsibility of governments around the world. Evaluation can make a major contribution to tracking the results of public action. The objective assessment of the achievement of results by using rigorous and standardized approaches can provide a basis for a systematic understanding of how and where public efforts should be directed to achieve more sustainable results. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on Liberia's experience in building a national monitoring and evaluation system in a post-conflict context, which means a unique set of social and development challenges and opportunities. I want to take the opportunity to greet the Honorable Bronson, Deputy Minister for Budget and Development Planning from the Ministry of Finance, and also Madam Violet Bafour, Deputy Resident Representative for Programs of UNDP Liberia. We are very pleased to see such a good attendance and interest in the webinar, a clear indication of the relevance of the subject. As many of you may know, the Independent Evaluation Office conducts programmatic and thematic evaluations that support UNDP accountability and learning from experience. And another important aspect of our work is the strengthening of national evaluation capacities to enhance the progress towards sustainable development goals. The key element of our support in this area has been the convening of national evaluation capacity conferences, which take place every 2 years since 2009. The NEC conferences offer a unique forum for the exchange of knowledge and practical lessons learned in institutionalizing evaluation and national evaluation systems across countries. Liberia has actively participated in the last 2 NEC conferences, and we are very pleased to continue the discussion and experience sharing through this webinar. I think we will be able to gain new insights into the opportunities and challenges of strengthening national evaluation systems. With this, I would like to now hand over to introduce my colleague Heather Bryant, the Chief of Capacity Development Section at the Independent Evaluation Office of UNDP, who will be moderating this webinar and who will be introducing also the speakers. Thank you very much. Heather, over to you.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm really thrilled to see the number of participants we have here, and we have people from all different regions of the world here to listen to the case study about Liberia, and I hope share also their experiences from their own countries. As you know, this webinar is a part of the gLocal Evaluation Week, which is a global event that supports the exchange of monitoring and evaluation knowledge and experiences as a means to promote evaluation capacity development, to support evidence-based decision-making, and strengthen development outcomes at the local and the global level. This is the 2nd year that the IEO has participated in the gLocal Week, and this is our 3rd webinar in the series this year. And as you all know, today's opportunity is to just exchange relevant lessons and reflections on strengthening national evaluation systems, starting with a presentation from Liberia. As our distinguished speakers today, we have Mr. James Afif Jabber, who has been serving since 2018 as the Director for Plan Development and Coordination in the Department of Budget and Development Planning in the Ministry of Finance from Liberia. He's led the development of the National Development Plan with support from stakeholders, and he coordinates the sectors and pillars meetings at the national level. He's provided support to the development of national key indicators that are being used to measure government progress towards achieving its own agenda, the SDGs, and the Agenda 2063. He was the Assistant Director for Monitoring and Evaluation at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, and was involved in monitoring and reporting on the development activities, projects, and programs in the country. He's also supported development of the National M&E Plan and Results Framework. He has vast knowledge on national and subnational development planning, and he has provided training for ministries, agencies, and commissions, and staff to strengthen capacity on results-based planning, monitoring, and reporting. So we're really lucky to have such an experienced expert with us today to share Liberia's experience. And also contributing to the presentation will be Ignatius Abedu-Bensi, who works for the UNDP country office in the capacity of M&E specialist, working closely with the Government of Liberia in supporting national evaluation efforts. Ignatius has been engaged in the field of social and development research at the national and international level for the past 9 years, and within UNDP is recognized as a champion for strengthening the culture of evaluation within our own organization. Before I give the floor to the speakers, just a couple of words on the practicalities of this webinar. I think many of us who have been working from home and in various forms of lockdown, we're quite familiar with the standard procedures, but you'll be muted during the presentation, but you can ask questions at any time in the chat box. And then after the presentation, we will open the floor for comments, questions, and reflections. And for this, you can use the raise your hand button in the participants box or the chat box. And when we do call on you, if you could just introduce yourself before asking your question. So we have about an hour here together today. And if we aren't able to get to all of the questions, or you would like to ask something in follow-up, we are happy to follow up by email. You can write to us at ieo.nec@undp.org. We'll put this in the chat box, and we would be able to transmit any questions you might have to our Liberian colleagues. And so with this, I am very pleased to hand over to James Afif Jabber and Ignatius Abedu-Bensi. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can you see the slides?
We can see the slides, but can you put it into presentation mode? There we go. Perfect. Thank you. That's great.
Okay. Yes. The world needs responsible leadership with political will and commitment, supported by stronger institutions with sound policies and frameworks, procedures and processes, and effective strategies to build a robust system to effectively and efficiently provide social economic growth and development to improve the well-being of its people and society. This can only be achieved and measured through sustaining national evaluation systems in post-conflict society, a case of Liberia that I'm pleased to present. This presentation looks at Liberia's context. The outline is as follows. Creating the policy and proven environment of a successful conduct of evaluation, roadmap of Liberia's M&E, efforts made towards national evaluation system, embedding evaluation in the National Development Plan and SDG implementation framework, how has evaluation being used to improve and accelerate implementation of the National Development Plan and the 2030 Agenda, UNDP support the national evaluation process, challenges, and next step. In creating the policy and program environment of a successful conduct of evaluation, there is a prevalence of national ownership with an emerging interest and appreciation of evaluation at the national level. There is an occurrence of national ownership with support for evaluation except for limited resources to fully support evaluation and its national development plan to significantly impact the lives of its people and the society. Review of policy coherence and set priorities for prioritization of projects and programs and activities for national and sub-national implementation. The establishment of the public sector performance management and compliance regulation to ensure government transparency and accountability for strengthening effectiveness in the public sector under the direct jurisdiction of the Office of the President. Creation of Public Financial Management Act that makes it mandatory to report on all public sector investment programs, and the development of integrated financing framework and other fiscal policy and strategies for harmonization and optimal impact to improve budget coverage, fiscal policy management, financial control and oversight of government finances, and strengthening of the financial system in alignment with Agenda 2030, providing support to the realization of the National Development Plan and the 2030 Agenda in the alignment of budget to national plan. The roadmap of Liberia's MAE, where it was and present. Liberia suffered a 14-year civil war followed by an Ebola outbreak of 2014 and commodity price shock due to its dependence on primary commodities that destroy all facets of the society, weaken social cohesion, distress among citizens, institutions, and government, and a complete breakdown in economic activity that created severe deprivation and abject poverty. In 2016, the government launched state building initiatives with preliminary monitoring and evaluation elements being integrated in the governance. Between 2006 and 2012, Liberia developed a working document embedding an evaluation framework called Aid Memoir to ensure that development intervention and projects were being coordinated and evaluated at both national and sub-national level through the County Development Steering Committee meeting or platform at the multi-sectoral level. In 2012, the country conducted the results-focused assessment report of its 3 years National Development Plan, which is the poverty reduction strategy. And then in 2016, the country also conducted a midterm progress review of its 5 years National Development Plan, and that is the Agenda for Transformation, for short, the AFT. In 2018, the government developed the new National Development Plan and the results framework to provide hope to the most marginalized, vulnerable, and disadvantaged people in providing income security, reducing inequalities, and alleviating poverty, followed by COVID-19 impact on economic activities, society, and proud to 7.0% compared to %. The graph shows trends of Liberia real GDP growth rates in 2012 and 2013 at 8.4% and 8.8%, which created an opportunity for growth and economic development and poverty alleviation. The effect of Ebola and the commodity price shock in 2014 caused a decline at 0.7%, and in 2015 at 0%. A slump to 1.6%, and in 2017 it increased to 1.2%. Prior to COVID-19, the real GDP growth rate was projected at 1.4%. Due to COVID-19, it slumped to 1.4%, and in 2020, it's expected to slump to 2.5%. It is projected that real GDP growth rates will increase for 2021 to 3.4%, 2022 to 4.2%, 2023 to 4.9%, and 2024 to 5.4%. This shows the effect of Ebola, commodity price shock, and COVID-19 has on growth and development of the country that affects the impact of the society. The significant impact on the lives of the people in society is determined from the results of evaluation like Liberia conducted in 2012 and 2016. Efforts Liberia have made towards national evaluation system. We developed national monitoring and evaluation structure with technical working teams at intersectoral and county level for effective coordination, implementation, and reporting. We also strengthened the capacity of individual officials and strengthened institutions of ministries, agencies, and commission for short marks, provided knowledge and skills in results-based management, planning, programming, monitoring, and evaluation reporting to improve service delivery and performance. We also developed roles and responsibilities for key development planning and implementation actors to be involved in the conduct of evaluation. We then coordinated programs and projects for implementation through sectors and pillar working groups and reported on performance through annual reports published on the Government of Liberia website. We then established national statistical system and developed national strategy for development of statistics for strengthening data production and enhancing policy making. We also developed online tracking platform, a project database for tracking national public sector investment projects and programs across Liberia. Established baselines for key indicators of the country's national development plans, SDGs, G7+, and Agenda 2063 to be used as a starting point for measuring performance. We then also develop procedures and processes for conducting robust evaluation at each predetermined point of the life cycle of the national development plans. This is a snapshot of Liberia Tracking Dashboard, an online platform for tracking development across Liberia. It provides information on projected disbursements, and new commitments by sector, including funding source and others. These are some of government development projects undertaking. The pictorial provides information on 4 key development areas: infrastructure for roads, agriculture, health, and education. We have managed to embed evaluation into the National Development Plan and the SDG implementation framework by developing a rapid integrated assessment policy tool for harmonization of countries' alignment of its National Development Plan with the 2030 Agenda and its SDG goals and targets determines its gaps. We also completed localization of the Sustainable Development Goals by taking the SDG to the most vulnerable and marginalized, leaving no one behind, by reaching the furthest behind first. We also completed alignment of the SDG indicators with the indicators of the country's development plan, which set the stage for the parallel monitoring and evaluating of the SDG and the National Development Plan implementation. We then developed national monitoring and evaluation plan for all public investment projects and programs at both national and subnational level. How has evaluation been used to improve and accelerate the implementation of our plan and 2030 agenda? Monitor and SDGs throughout the implementation phase of the SDG. We also continue to have near real-time trend information of the SDGs and national key indicators. We review programs and projects. For example, the Liberia Social Cash Transfer Program to improve efficiency and effectiveness, took corrective actions on what was working and what was not to make significant impact and produce report on performance to and development partners. The Liberia Social Cash Transfer Program was then conducted in Bombing County in 2009 to address the extreme poverty phase. That was led by the Government of Liberia in partnership with UNICEF for funding from EU and the Government of Japan. It actually focused on the most vulnerable and labor-constrained households in reducing poverty and improving the well-being, and focus actually on food security of Liberians. The results were evidence shown that the program improved food security, health education, and economic conditions for participating households. The methodology that was used was the quantitative household survey, focus group discussion with children, and also that of community members, key informants interview being conducted with those from the education sector, health, agriculture, business owner, religious leaders, the social cash transfer secretariat, partners, and government officials. The program was reviewed, extended, and then piloted in Liberia County in 2012.
Okay. So Afif had Jean had this some of the efforts that the government has made, national made in terms of how we have tried to develop monitoring and evaluation. Before I move on a little bit to talk about how UNDP has worked with the government, because the government is our natural partner when it comes to development at the national level. We have made some strides, and in our we will discuss what efforts have been made so that
Ignatius, are you still there? Oh, I can see you again.
Oh yeah, sorry, the internet fluctuated a little bit. Let me reconnect the slide.
Okay, no problem.
Can you see the slides?
No, not yet.
I did. Okay, sorry.
You can perhaps continue. I think you just had a couple of more slides, Ignatius. Perhaps you can just continue speaking if that would work. Oh,
okay,
there we
so
go.
yeah, we go. Yeah.
Now we see them.
Okay, sorry, we just had a little break in the something.
No problem. Ignatius, we're having a bit of a sound problem. I don't know if it would be easier to stop sharing the slides and just speak, if that would be any better. Ignatius, I'm sorry.
Help the government in terms of development do is to help ties with
I'm sorry, we lost you for a little bit. The sound was very echoey. Would you mind just starting again with what you were saying about UNDP support?
Is the sound better now?
Yes, we can hear you clearly now.
Okay, perfect. And then can you see the slides as well?
Yes, it's not in slideshow view, but we can see the slides.
Okay, I'm just trying to set it up. Okay. Can you hear me?
It's coming and going. You know what? It might be better if you just maybe even switch off your video and forget the slides and just tell us what you were going to tell us. It might be a little bit easier.
Okay, let me try that.
Thanks.
Okay. So UNDP has supported the government in establishing or developing, an MAE guide. So basically, in the absence of MAE policy currently, the MAE guide is intended to help standardize how the line ministries and agencies go about in terms of conducting MAE, having results-based having evidence-based information that helps to feed into projects and programs at the national and national level. We also work in collaboration with the government in helping to establish the baseline for the G7 indicators. So basically, it looked at both at the previous National Development Plan, which is known as the EFT2, the SDGs, and the Agenda 2063. It was one way that helped the government in terms of mapping out those key indicators that the government will need to carry on intervention in helping develop its people. So we were also instrumental in providing series of capacity building for a lot of government partners, both at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning and other line ministries. To date, over 100 colleagues have been trained in results-based management, in monitoring, and evaluation. And then over the last 3-4 years, Liberia has been opportune to also participate in the national evaluation conferences that are being hosted by IEO. And those conferences, both in 2017 and 2019, they were very, very instrumental in helping how we move forward as a country when it comes to national evaluation. National evaluation was not only something that was new to government. It was also not something that was widespread among of the different ministries and the UN as well as civil society, as in everyone was doing evaluation at a disjointed level. So the UN obviously works along with the government evaluation, but NGOs and CSOs also do evaluation at their level. So with going to NEC, what it has done for us is that it has helped us to better understand that having an evaluation at the national level is very important, and how we coordinate together as a country, both bringing together non-state actors, state actors, and the UN when it comes to conducting evaluation. We also at present, UNDP, we are working effectively with our national counterparts when it comes to evaluation of programs and projects. Right now, we are being instrumental in working with the government to evaluate some of our programs. Like the Coastal Project is one. The Coastal Project we consider it as a very, very successful project, which the evaluation also showed, because what the Coastal Project did for the people of Liberia is that it has been able to reduce or at least safeguard some of less fortunate communities who were suffering from flooding. And the evaluation that was commissioned by UNDP and the Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Mines and Energy, it showed that the intervention that was done, it has not only helped to stop sea erosion from destroying people's lives and homes, but it also helped with people's livelihood, because many of the people, by being able to establish a coastal barrier, it helped people not to be able to relocate, but at the same time to have their livelihood safe. So with a successful intervention of this program and evaluation also helping to showcase its successes, as well as some lessons learned being drawn to it, UNDP, currently we are being engaged in both funding partners, UNDP and the government. And we have some positive, well, nothing is signed yet, so we wouldn't want to say that it's been signed, but we have some positive commitment from from funding partners who want to replicate what has been done of the first coastal program in the capital. So that is a good news. And that is one important thing that evaluation can do or has shown to be able to do. It has been able to help to showcase the interventions that have been done, the successes of it, and also help us to learn from it. If you're controlling the slides, can you just move to the next slide, please? Hello. We are on. Go ahead. Challenges.
Liberia will let us showcase 8 challenges. We have weak infrastructure and limited technical manpower capacity for data collection and analysis in most marks at both national and subnational levels. We have limited capacity development support for strengthening, conducting, and managing evaluation across sector for effective use of evaluation results to inform and influence policy and program decisions. Limited data and statistical information for policy decision making. Inadequate financial and technical assistance to support official statistics. Absence of national evaluation policy to strengthen evaluation function. The absence of national evaluation committee to facilitate support, network, and promote and access the conduct of evaluation. Also, there's an existing policy framework that are not enforcing evaluation of spending entities. For example, the PFM law 2009 revised Part 7, section 48.2 speak of reporting, but with no emphasis on evaluation. Also, there's a challenge of inadequate logistics in terms of logistical tools to support monitoring, data collection, evaluation of development project programs and activities. And also, we are faced with a challenge of inadequate budgetary support for national evaluation of development projects and programs. What are our next steps? We seek to support national and international assistance to assess current capacity at Liberian Institute of Statistics and Geoinformation Services for short leases and other related institutions that are managing data and providing needed manpower capacity, training in data collection, processing, analysis, management, and dissemination. Also provide needed logistics and data storage platform and infrastructure for easy access. We also intend to support the government to develop a national evaluation policy to strengthen evaluation function and coordination, encourage the government to establish a national evaluation committee to facilitate, support, network, and promote and assess the conduct of evaluation. And then provide technical support to government to revisit the PFM law 2009 revised to make monitoring and evaluation reporting mandatory for all institutions using public funds, which will determine value for money and actions taken for violators. Encourage the government to make it mandatory by amendment to the PFM law 2009 revised that all spending entities allocate certain portion of the entity's project budget to national evaluation. That is, could be 1%, 2%, 3%, or whatever.
So basically, just to wrap up, there are some key messages or takeaway that we would like to share with the audience in terms of summarizing. So we see national evaluation system as a very, very crucial tool for performance and management results, both in a tangible way and evidence-based driven way. The reason why that is important is because, one, Liberia has not had a culture of national evaluation and using evaluation for decision making in the past. It is something that has been developed, and we are happy that our administration, especially from the Ministry of Finance, they are very, very keen to involve evaluation in national planning processes. So it's something that we are happy to see moving forward. So we have been successful in first establishing the national evaluation system although more needs to be done in terms of strengthening the system, our next step is that we are now working towards ensuring that we have a national evaluation committee set up, which is going to bring together the UN, line ministries, as well as the civil society, because it's important to have all stakeholders involved. So we have also managed to embed evaluation in our national development planning process, establishing both at the national evaluation system moving forward is for us to continue to work. Before COVID started, we had met as a team, both from the Ministry of Finance and UNDP, to start working on discussions surrounding the national evaluation policy. We think that developing the national evaluation policy is the key to having a vibrant national evaluation, because once we have a policy that provides for the country, at least the ministries and partners, to have a strong evaluation backing, it also helps with finances, because then it's something that the government can also put, or at least demand all projects and programs, both at the PMFE level and at donor funding level, to incorporate funding for evaluation. And this is something that has currently been lacking when it comes to evaluating national projects and programs. So I think in view of the 14 years of civil war, Ebola, followed by Ebola and the commodity price shock, the social economic fabric of Liberia was destroyed. Yet we have continuously maintained peace and stability and strengthened our governance system and rule of law. We have been able to move away from fragility towards development. And we see evaluation as playing a key role in helping us when it comes to development. For example, we need the national legislature or the parliament to be able to use evaluation from projects and programs when reviewing national budget for the fiscal year to determine which interventions are actually being helpful to people and which intervention that they may need to hold the executive accountable for. So evaluation can help the legislature to play a way. But we know that those are early days, and we'll still need to get the buy-in from the legislature, just how we have the strong buy-in now from the executive. So those are things that we are now for the future going forward, especially after COVID, post-COVID, we're going to work together as a country and as a team to ensure that Liberia is more vibrant when it comes to using evaluation for policy and decision-making processes. Next slide, please. So we just wanted to leave our colleagues with this quote before questions and answer time. So I think, do you want to read it?
Public service must be more than doing a job efficiently and honestly. It must be a complete dedication to the people and to the nation. Thank you. Margaret Chase.
So thank you. Over to Heather and Ginda for any questions or comments.
Oh, sorry, I lost my control screen. Thank you very much to James Afif Jabbar and to Ignatius Abadou Bensi for this excellent and very informative presentation on the evolution of the national evaluation system in Liberia. I would just like to ask the Honorable Deputy Minister if she would like to add anything before we move on to the questions and answers.
Thank you very much. Actually, I was sitting in as an observer, but I'm glad to say something. I really appreciate the opportunity that we have to showcase where we are. And I think for us, it's a big learning experience as well. As you saw from the presentation, even though we've taken some strides, we still have a long way to go. We're open to your critique, and we want to learn from you so that we can improve our processes. We know that we have a lot of gaps, but we know that we have a lot of potential to improve. So thank you again.
Thank you again. The presentation shows that you really do have a lot of opportunities and a lot of ambition, and we're really delighted to see that. I'd like to open the floor to questions now. Let's see, there was a question from Nadia Hamid. Nadia, would you like to come in?
Yeah, sure. Yes, thank you so much. And allow me first to thank my colleague from Liberia. It is very, very, very good and very much useful presentation. I like it very much. Thank you so much for that. And I hope you will share it. I don't know where, but please, if you can share it. That is, I didn't put it within the question. But my question, I think already toward the end of the presentation, as you have already maybe answered, because my question is very much going to what extent these experiences of Liberia on strengthening the national evaluation capacity system could serve or already serves the public sector evaluation mechanisms or the public sector evaluation arrangement. As we know that there are numbers of issues, a lot of issues in many countries, in particular within my continent in Africa, where no evaluation, no independent evaluation entity or institution can take it ahead, in particular when we come to the public sector evaluations. I think what you have shared with us, it could be, it can serve, you know, like a starting point. I don't know, please just guide us more on this. That will be very much good because your experience is very much rich. And also I'm looking forward to have any kind of idea about your national policy, because I think what you are missing right now, evaluation national policy. I think if that evaluation national policy is already there, like framed, confined and everything, for sure this will serve, you know, the purpose of the public sector evaluation. Over to you, Heather. And again, thank you very much.
Maybe we'll take one more question and then hand back over to our speakers. Sophie Conte, you had a question about the evaluation policy. It was partially answered, but do you have a follow-up question? Sophie?
Hear me? Yes, yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Sophie.
Hello, Ignatius, how are you? The question, basically, I guess we discussed this the last time during the UNITA conference here with you, sir. I was just thinking about the time frame. When do you intend to have a policy? I know you have a framework in place, but also how do you now deal with the coordination and institutional overlaps there? Because I know, like, you have the Ministry of Agriculture, they all collect data, they all conduct evaluation. How is the coordination done? And who do they report to at the end of the day? And how does this feed back into the budget planning process?
Thank you, Sophie. Genta had a question. Genta?
Yes, thank you, Heather, and thank you, James and Ignatius, for the very informative and insightful presentation. I had more of a practical questions. If you have any examples that you can share with us so we can better understand how some of the evaluations and reviews that you mentioned have been used in decision-making at different levels of the government. It'll be very useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Genta. Back over to you, James and Ignatius.
Okay, thanks to the audience for the question. So maybe I'll first start with the last question from Genta. We will first start to respond. So to be quite frank, like we said in our presentation earlier, the issue of evaluation being used in decision-making at the national level is not strong yet. And the reason why it's not strong yet, because national ownership of evaluation is still new and is still emerging. The Ministry of Finance, through its leadership, has been in the forefront, in the full driving seat when it comes to establishing national evaluation. But that still needs to have a buy-in from the other branches of government, especially the Parliament or the legislation. And for us, in our discussion we had previously, one of the key places where we feel evaluation or results from evaluation is important is at the parliament level, because the parliament has oversight of the executive. The parliament can work along with the executive to ensure that programs and projects that the executive implement is implemented properly and in line with what the best interest of its people. And we feel that by having parliament to use evaluation when it comes to, for example, budgetary allocation, to be able to say, okay, fine, put money this way, but use properly in this line. Evidence-based evaluation that is not being implemented properly. What are the issues? What can be done to strengthen it? Do we still need to approve budget for this line, or do we need to look at something else, another line that is better or more useful in terms of bringing development to people? For the executive level, use at the level, but not at the but not at the 10 year. For example, so evaluation of programs and projects that are being run by at the ministry level, they have used the findings from those evaluations to make decisions when it comes to the line ministry. But at the national level, there are still being there's not strong national decision making being used yet based on evaluation report. And that is one of the things that we are hoping to work towards getting in the near future. James, I don't know if you want to add something before we move to the next response.
Yes,
question.
Yes, with respect to the need for MAE policy, the government is thinking in that direction, because it's on the MAE policy you can strengthen the process of evaluation. And so presently we are thinking that direction, working closely with the UNDP Liberia office to ensure that they provide the support and to see how best we can get the policy implemented, because it provides a clearer picture in terms of how we function and then how we quality the development activities.
And just to respond to this question, the Ministry of Finance and Development type is one of its mandate is to serve as a head of statistics. Finance is responsible for coordinating, evaluating line ministries and that's been making some strides. For example, the voluntary national review that we are currently working on, which we are finalizing. So the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, along with its development partners and from us at the UN level, they have been successful in trying to coordinate the different partners or stakeholders, ensuring that the voluntary national review is done properly. Now, in the past, what we have done with the voluntary national review is that we have done consultation, but given COVID-19, we did something completely different this time, which it showcased the work of evaluation. With this new voluntary national review that the country is designing, we use evaluations this time around. So because we could not do it in person and we needed to do a depth review, we focus more on evaluations that have been done at the different programs and project level at the different line ministries. So that has been our major focus, to look at those evaluations that have been done, what findings that come from there, what challenges have they talked about, how can we help to strengthen our VNR, but as well as moving forward as a country in terms of not just writing a report for the sake of the report, but how does it impact on the lives of everyday people? And then the first question from our colleague was, Heather, if you can help to recap a little bit on the first question from our colleague, the first colleague who spoke.
I believe that was Nadia. Nadia, do you just want to repeat your question in one sentence, please?
Okay, my questions is very much related to the public sector evaluations efforts that really, whether we can, use these experiences, very good experiences of Liberia to accommodate as well, evaluating the public sector, because there are numbers of issues and challenges related to the public sector evaluation nationally. Over to you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Nadia. And you are quite right. When it comes to many African countries, and Liberia is not an exception, when it comes to evaluating public sector is a challenge, because oftentimes many politicians see evaluation as audit. They think that if you're going to evaluate national programs and projects that are funded, especially those that are funded holistically by the government, they think more or less is an audit. So Liberia is no different in having those challenges as well. We have had it. What we are doing, or we are using the enthusiasm of the Ministry of Finance, especially the Minister Proper and the Deputy Minister Bronson, the enthusiasm in evaluation. We are using that to be able to help us when it comes to evaluating fully funded government programs and projects, because that has been one of the places we have not made an entire headway into, because with fully funded government project and program, it becomes political 100% as compared to a mix of donors or UN. So that has been a little bit of a challenge for us so far as well. We have had one or two evaluation of fully funded projects and programs, but the findings have not really been used. And we don't just want to do evaluation for the sake of evaluation. We want to do evaluation for change. So we are working to ensure that going forward, that once we have the buy-in of the Ministry of Finance, and hopefully we're going to have the buy-in from the Ministry of State, where the President also said, and from the Parliament, we think we can make a far more headway than we have made currently when it comes to evaluating the public sector. I think
additionally, I think it's necessary, first of all, to ensure that the national evaluation policy is being put into place. And once it's been developed, it will help the process of monitoring public sector, because based on what is in the document provides an opportunity in terms of how coordination and how the institutions responsible for coordinating and making sure those functions are carried out will be described in the document of the policy. And so with all the policy, there is no way in which you can be able to enforce certain actions. But with the help of the policy, language and the agency of government will be able to act based on what is stated within the policy. And so it's necessary to have the policy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we have a couple more comments in the box. Taku, would you like to jump in?
Yes, thank you. My question really is on
Could you
the
introduce
extent.
yourself first?
Okay, my name is Takuchirau. I'm based at the Center for Learning on Evaluation and Results Anglophone Africa in South Africa. My question is on the extent to which evaluations are actually used in the public sector. If there are any examples where evaluations has actually changed the way things are done in the public sector in Liberia, that's the first one. And also how harmonized M&E systems linked with management, that is planning and budgeting. Over.
Go ahead, team.
So Taku, thank you for your question. I know that South Africa has a very strong national evaluation system, and over the past few years they have been doing well in terms of helping the government, or at least use evaluation for planning and budgeting. We have not reached that level yet. That is where we hope to strive to or reach to in the coming years. We are still in an emerging phase of when it comes to our national evaluation. Yes, we have first started by setting the system. Yes, we have an MEE guide in the absence of a policy. Yes, we have started to work towards developing an MEE policy, and we have started to engage with our political leaders so that we can have a political buy-in for this. But in terms of the actual utilization of the MEE policy evaluation reports in giving actual change, we have not really reached there yet at a holistic scale. We have like I said earlier, at the micro level, at the ministry level, yes, there have been some changes. I mean, there have been some changes, or there have been some uses of evaluation in terms of how those ministries go about with their programs and projects. At the national level, it has not reached or upstream yet at that national level to a full extent wherein we now can say that evaluations are being used for budgeting, for planning. They are to some extent, but they don't play a major role right now. That's what I said earlier. One of the main places that we are striving to see evaluation being utilized is at the level of the parliament, because we feel that the level of the parliament is where strong change can be made for the people of Liberia in determining the projects and programs that the government run or other partners run reaches the people that are most needed. So that is one of the places where we are hoping that with a strong evaluation system, with evaluation being used both by the executive for implementation and lesson learned, and by the parliament to hold the executive accountable, we feel that it will be very, very, very instrumental to helping when it comes to development change. Because for us, we want evaluation to help with development change. We are still an emerging economy. We are still a country that needs a lot of development. We're still a country that has a high level of poverty. So we need whatever development, whatever way we can get development and help the people of Liberia. We need it, and we feel that evaluation at that level, the higher level that you are talking about, once we have put that in place, we feel that it can have a lot of change, positive change for the people of Liberia. James?
Additionally, I think one critical issue is the issue of political will and commitment. And I think that if we want to ensure that the evaluation is to its fullest, we need to ensure that our leaders and all those in Liberia from the three branches of government must support evaluation. They must have the political will and commitment to ensure that they bring about change in terms of positively impacting the lives of the people and their society. And so evaluation play a key role. And if they want to ensure that the lives of the people are positively improved, then they need to first of all ensure that the policy around evaluation is being developed, and then those things that will strengthen the evaluation policy is being supported, and then making sure that there's a political will to enforce the implementation of the evaluation policy.
Thank you. Over to
Can I make a comment?
Yes, Madam Minister.
Yeah, yeah, we're talking about evaluation, but I think for us, the problem is we have a very poor reporting culture, and that's what drives the evaluation. If you can't get the kind of data that you need to drive it, then it's useless. I think that's something we need to work on, strengthening our ability to report across the board, across government, and even for other areas too. We have challenges getting data to be able to report on. So that's something we need to learn from you, how you manage and how is it enforced that you're able to get the kind of data that you want from various institutions.
Thank you, Madam Minister. Over to you, Heather.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a practical question. We have another comment and another question. Do you have a few minutes? Because we've actually just passed the hour, and I know that many people do have other commitments. Are you able to stay with us online for a few more minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, so to all of the other participants, if you need to leave because you have other engagements, we will not be in the least bit offended if you need to take leave now. Otherwise, we will continue for a few more minutes. We have a comment from Robert. I'm afraid I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Dorlier? regarding the outcome of the evaluation of the Coastal Defense Project. And
Yes.
then Titus will come to you just after that. Robert, the floor is yours.
Thank you. No, but just to complement what my colleague Elisha said and his colleague from the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, the outcome of the current intervention in Nukutan, which is now the Coastal Defense Project, to stop the sea erosion from destroying a lot of houses. So it was the outcome of evaluation that was conducted on another coastal project in the coastal city called Buchanan. So I just want to link that it was used as a kind of intervention based on that evaluation that paved the way for the other intervention in other place that will also suffer from coastal erosion. Over to you.
Thank you very much for that. I think I'll pass on the floor directly to Titus Osundina, and he can ask his question, and then we can ask the team to respond. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Titus Osundina, I'm the DRR for UNDP Comoros. Thank you. My question is very simple, just to know if considerations have been made to review the impact, possible impact of COVID on evaluation system, strategy, program, and plan in the near future. The question is to Liberia and to the IOE office, if possible. Thank you.
Do you want to go first? I think the question is for both Liberia and IEO. So maybe
go ahead, Liberia. We'll as the IEO, we'll add that into our closing.
Okay. Titus, hi, how are you? It's been a while. So that's a very good question. Okay, that's a very good question, Titus. It's something that we are not just at the government, but we at UNDP Liberia has also been looking into, because the impact of COVID, not just only on evaluation, but on everyday life for every Liberian person or those who live in the country has been affected. So yes, it's something that we as both government and Liberia, especially through the Ministry of Finance and the UNDP, are looking into having an impact study to see what extent not only COVID had on evaluation itself, but it had on how the government, because if you saw this slide, there was a projection that the government had in terms of development growth, but COVID has also affected that development growth. So it's something that we're also looking into when, God knows when COVID is going to be over, but post-COVID, yes, we are looking into having some form of study, especially an evaluation into that. And it's something that we know that we can be able to get funding to do, so yes. Over to you, Heather.
Thank you very much to the Liberia team. I would just like to ask Violet Dufour, if she, sorry, Bafour, I've mispronounced your name. Would you like to say anything before we wrap up from the UNDP Liberia perspective?
Hello, I'm so sorry, Heather. This is Violet. I just had to unmute. Actually, from our side, really, I'd just like to say that the work that we've been able to do has been really in very close collaboration with the government. And I'm so glad that Deputy Minister Tana Brunson is online. And I'd really like perhaps for her to be able to say a few words based on the work that we've done and our strong collaboration. So over from my side and over to Deputy Minister Brunson. Thank you.
Thank you, Violet. Over to you, Deputy Minister.
I think most of that has been covered by James in his presentation. During the past administration, we worked on MAE strategy, a global MAE strategy for all of government. I think before we had different clusters and different scenarios for that, but we have a draft. I think we just need to revisit it now in the context of what's transforming, especially for COVID, see whether this is where we want to go. But we do have a draft, and these processes have been supported by the UNDP. We are very grateful to the UNDP for the support when it comes to that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. The question from Titus was also addressed to the IEO about considerations of the impact of COVID on evaluation and on evaluation systems. This is highly relevant. It's impacted on our own evaluations, although we are continuing to move forward with evaluations. We're having to adapt our methods and look at the possibilities of doing interviews virtually rather than in person, drawing on new and expanded data sets. We're looking at possibilities of using geospatial data and quite a number of things. But at the same time, we can't say that this hasn't been without an impact. We're also engaged at several levels with the UN, the United Nations Evaluation Group, working groups on system-wide evaluation, with the multi-party trust fund that's supporting the COVID response and looking ahead to what evaluation will look like there. There is also a coalition of development partners that are looking at how we could collectively evaluate the COVID response as a global community. And for our UNDP colleagues, we've also issued guidance on how to carry out evaluations or adjust evaluation plans in the current context. So there is guidance on our website, and we will soon be coming out with some updated guidance with hints on how to adapt terms of references for evaluation and what are some of the methods we can use when we can't carry these things out directly in person. So there will be more on that coming. And apologies, somebody else in my household is printing something right next to me. So apologies for the sound. I would like to thank everybody who has joined us this morning, and in particular, the Honorable Deputy Minister, the team from the ministry who did the presentation, Mr. James Afif Jaber, the UNDP team, Violet and Ignatius, and everyone else who has joined in with questions for the Liberia team. This has really been a fascinating presentation and discussion. And if there are more questions, you're welcome to send them to ieo.nec@undp.org, and we will transmit them to the appropriate person. We will be making the recording of the webinar available. We'll send you a link to that once it's available. And if our speakers allow us, we would also share a link to the presentation. Ignatius and James, would it be possible to share the presentation?
Yes, sure, it will be possible. You can proceed.
That's great. Thank you so much. So everybody, if you'd like to maybe turn on your mics and your videos, and we can give a virtual round of applause to our key speakers today. Thank you very, very much from New York. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.